Let's build a generative droplet spray starting from a simple prototype and turning it step by step into a living system. Along the way, we will learn how to create and use a custom data type, how to manage a spread manually, and how to give every droplet its own lifetime, age-based animation, and motion. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a patch where a single mouse gesture can spawn a multitude of animated droplets with individual size and color, fading out and disappearing automatically. And you'll have a clean workflow you can apply whenever you need to create, update, and destroy custom objects in VL. We'll start with a super simple setup, just to get some visual output on screen as quickly as possible. Set a reference to VL's gear, create a renderer with a white background color, add a mouse node and connect the mouse to the renderer. Next, we'll use a queue node. We're going to delete it again in a moment, but for now it's a practical first example of a slightly more complex setup we will need later. A queue collects whatever is connected to its input into a spread whenever the insert pin is true. So let's send the vector 2 of the mouse position into the queue, connect the left mouse button to insert and the right mouse button to clear. If you now inspect the queue output, you'll see it populate with vector 2 positions whenever you click into the renderer. We can now use these collected position values and draw a circle for each of them. Create a for each region and send the spread via a splicer into the position input of the circle node. Set the radius to something small like 0.1 and create a black fill for the circle color. The output needs to go through a group spectral, so all circles are combined into a single skier layer, and then draw that layer by grouping it together with the mouse. The queue works nicely as a quick container for prototyping, but for the dynamic and generative droplet spray that we want to build in this tutorial, we need to store more than just a position. Each droplet should have its own color, speed, forces, and radius, so this is the point where we should bundle these properties into a custom data type. When creating a type in VL, you will generally choose between records and classes. Make sure to place this so-called definition of the record on the definition side of your document, which you can navigate to through the document menu. This is the location where you will usually find definitions of nodes and custom data types. In this tutorial, we'll create a record called droplet and open it. Inside of it, we can now add properties and operations for features that we want the droplet to have. We will start with the properties that we already know our example will need. So create 3 paths called position, radius, and color, and annotate them with the right data types, which are vector 2 for the position, float for the radius, and RGBA for the color. Next, we need operations that allow us to access those properties. Use here the shortcut Ctrl K. It creates 2 operations create in white and split in blue, which will also appear in the Patch Explorer on the left side. They are typically used to bundle the assigned properties into the custom data type and therefore automatically create 1 input and 1 output per property. Back in the Node browser, you will now find the new entry droplet. If you open it, you see the 2 operations create and split. Now let's make sure the queue stores the full droplet type and not only the position. Delete the links going in and out of the queue and send the droplet into it instead. This also means we don't need to define color and radius inside the for each anymore. and we can set the default values when we create the droplet. Finally, create a new splicer input on the loop, send in the spread of droplets, and use the split operation to retrieve the properties we need for rendering. The patch works now pretty much like before, but now that the properties live inside the record, we can manipulate them much more flexibly and we can extend the type at any time. For example, we can already compute the acceleration of the mouse movement using a frame difference and a length node, and send that into the radius pin instead. Each droplet now has its own position and radius and scales with the speed of the mouse. As a final touch, we can generate a random color in a range between black and white every time a mouse click is detected, and use it for all circles until the mouse button is released again. Using the Q node is a convenient start for quick generative drawings and also fairly flexible, but once we move on to animating the instances, we need more control over our droplet spread, especially because we will introduce the idea of a lifetime after which the droplet needs to disappear. This means that we want to create and destroy droplets dynamically, and we also want to animate the droplet depending on its current age. So we'll now replace the queue with a little setup that allows us to manually manage the spread. The storage for the spread will be a new pad called droplets, and just like we did inside the record, we will set its type explicitly. So open the configuration menu of the pad and set it to spread droplet. In general, a pad can act as a source or destination of data within a frame, delivering everything that is written to it to the output of the other one exactly one frame later, which means whatever we do with the data, we have to write it back into a pad with the same name. For that, either copy the pad or create a second instance from the node browser. You can imagine an invisible feedback link. The output of the lower pad goes back around in its own input, and everything we put in between operates on the data. For now, we need two spread operations here. One to add droplets while pressing the left mouse button, and another one to clear the whole spread when clicking the right mouse button. The add operation also needs to receive the output of create droplet, as this is what needs to be stored in the spread. As we want both the clear and add operations to execute only under the condition of a mouse button press, we could use an if region around each of them. Alternatively, since the condition triggers only the execution of a single node, we can use the apply pin instead. For both operations, enable the apply pin in the configuration menu and connect the left mouse to the add operation and the right mouse to the clear operation. This makes sure the nodes are only executed when the condition connected to apply is true. If everything is linked correctly, you can now connect the output of the lower droplets pad to the input of the for each in which the droplets are rendered. The patch behaves exactly like before, but this setup gives us much more flexibility, because now we can freely operate on the droplet spread and one by one introduce new operations for our record that we can insert into the link between the pads. One note also about the warning, which you might have noticed on the upper droplet pad saying the pad might be uninitialized. It simply reminds you of the fact that the pad won't hold any data in the very first frame of your running application. But as we are anyway starting with an empty spread, you can either ignore the warning or, to be correct about this, send the output of an empty node into the pad and assign it to the create operation, which is the first thing a vvvv patch is executing when started. At this point, it's safe to delete the queue as we will continue with the pet-based setup. And to keep things tidy, select the part of the patch responsible for drawing the droplets, right-click and select Edit, Pack as Process, and name it Draw Droplets. This will put the selection into a new process node, providing inputs and outputs automatically. The heavy lifting is done, as we now have a very flexible, modular and scalable pipeline to manage custom object instances. Now it's time to give the droplets behavior and motion. We can already clear all droplets manually with the right mouse button, but instead we want them to disappear automatically after a certain lifetime. Since we're using a record with custom properties, we can now simply extend the droplet type. So add a new property called maximum lifetime, annotate it with float32, and make sure it's generated randomly when the droplet is created by using a random node, which will default to a range of 0 to 1 if you don't set it to another range. You can then right-click the link going into the pet and assign everything that goes into it to the create operation. That way, the droplet generates this value internally on create instead of receiving it from the outside. Now we need an algorithm that tells us whether a droplet is still alive. For this, we need to introduce another operation for the record that we expect to run continuously, which generally is called the update operation. So open the Patch Explorer and add another operation called update, then place a stopwatch and use a comparison node to check if its value is below maximum lifetime. As long as this is true, the droplet is considered alive, and otherwise it should be removed. Create a new output for this new information and call it isAlive. Very important to take care of, the stopwatch is disabled by default, so expose the enabled pin and set it to true. Back in the main patch, we can now call the new update operation for every droplet, so add the node from the node browser, surround it with a for each and let it operate on the spread coming from the pet. This means every droplet runs its own update logic and continuously checks whether its current lifetime is still below its maximum lifetime. Make sure you collect the updated droplets at the output of the for each, create a keep pin and send the boolean from isAlive into keep. This basically says, as long as the droplet is alive, keep it in this loop, and once it isn't, the entry won't be collected anymore on its splicer output. And because internally maximum lifetime is now randomized, you will notice that the droplets disappear at different times. What's nice about this lifetime setup is that we can now also calculate a normalized factor between 0 and 1 during its lifetime, and then use that for animation, for example shrinking the radius or fading the color. Let's call this factor h. Since we need h in our rendering, we'll add it as another output on the split operation, so create a new pet for it, send it out via another output and assign this output to the split operation. If you now go back to the draw droplets process where split is used, you will see that this new output pin appeared. We can now use this normalized h value together with a lerp node to transition the size and color over the droplet's lifetime. Simply send it into the scalar input and lerp between the initial radius and 0, so the droplet shrinks over time. And with the second lerp, we can strengthen the effect by also lerping the color towards white, so it blends into the background. I think by now you already get an idea about the possibilities and advantages of this object-oriented thinking in VL, as everything we have built so far is very extendable and scalable, and we can keep adding new features freely by adding more things to the droplet type. We will continue doing this and add motion to the droplets by introducing a new property called velocity, basically a vector 2 that represents the direction and speed in which the droplet should move. Earlier, we have already used the frame difference from the mouse position for the radius of the droplets, so let's also use that as the velocity on create, so the mouse defines both the initial size and the movement. We will now use this velocity value to animate the position of the droplet. The idea is simple. Every frame we add the velocity to the current position, and this addition should happen on the update operation that we are already running on every frame in our main patch. So just like we use two paths with the same name in the main patch to carry data from one frame to the next, we can do the same inside the record. After inserting a second position path in the link assigned to split, we will get another link between these paths assigned to the update operation. In here, we can now insert anything we want to apply to the position value. In our case, we will insert a plus node to add the velocity to the position every frame, so it is accumulated continuously. If you now click into the renderer and move the mouse, you will see the droplets start wandering into the direction you move the mouse, but the motion is probably a bit too extreme. We can fix that by scaling down velocity in create using a multiply node and a small factor like 0.05. We can also add a bit of variation so the direction deviates slightly from the mouse movement. Generate a random value in a small range using join center width with a width of 0.02 and add it to the scaled velocity. In the renderer, you will now see that droplets generally follow the mouse direction but still keep a generative organic feel. We're basically done with the example, and as a last step, we want to create many more droplets, as right now the patch is limited to one droplet every frame. In this case, it's very easy to change that. Simply surround the create droplet operation with a repeat region and set the iteration count to the number of droplets you want to generate. Of course, the output of the repeat region is no longer a single droplet, but a spread containing many of them. That means we need to use a add range instead of add, which appends a whole spread of values to another spread instead of adding just a single entry. Once you make the change, you will see the spray becomes much denser and more fluid because we are creating a larger amount of droplets every frame. Thank you very much for following this tutorial on object-oriented patching principles. I hope you learned something from it, and please do not hesitate to leave a comment if you have further questions. We all know it can be a tricky topic to get into, but once you start exploring the possibilities of custom data types, you will notice your patches become way more structured and scalable. Have a good patch and see you in the next video.